Okay, so this next one is Bellular's honest thoughts on Final Fantasy XIV so far. And I have a little bit of criticism about this title. It always bothers me when people type my honest opinions on a video. It really bothers me. When people go like, I have to be honest. Because it implies so you've been dishonest in the past, which is that what that implies? I think it's so weird. I know that this is done mostly for clickbait purposes, most likely, but Jesus Christ, I get so tired when I see the word honest in a title, because it basically implies that in the past they've been dishonest about something. It's like, hey, in the past I told you lies, but now I'm going to tell you the real honest opinion on this thing. Or whenever someone types in the title, brutally honest opinion, and I'm just like, what does that mean? I don't know what to tell you. Is Realm Reborn 1.0 still playable? Yeah, 1.0 is now Realm Reborn. Realm Reborn was 2.0. 1.0 was the original launch of Final Fantasy XIV, which was terrible. It was not good. There's a reason Realm Reborn exists. Bellular's impressions of Final Fantasy XIV, trying to understand Final Fantasy's world. Trying to understand.
So have you ever heard of a wildly popular MMO that has a free trial up to level 60 that includes the Heavensward expansion?
No! Let's go. I've never heard of this game. Please tell me more.
Okay, so the first thing that you put here is my updated thoughts.
Yep.
My updated thoughts on Final Fantasy XIV.
Do you have those? We're on this, by the way.
Well, I mean,
All right.
I'll swap it over to the main camera, I guess.
Okay, sure.
He did Sorrow of Verlet.
My updated thoughts on Final Fantasy XIV. Let's fucking do it. So, where we last left...
Bellular, why you gotta curse? YouTube's gonna demonetize my stuff now. What the hell, dude? Come on.
Off from last week's stream was I had on my Archer character just completed Gridania. I had hit level 18, and I'd seen a cutscene that was basically before they were going to send me off into the wider world. And the way that it basically works overall structurally is of Eorzea, which is like the continent you're on, there seem to be 3 major allied factions, which is Gridania, the pirate people, and the Sultanate.
The pirate people? I take offense. The pirate people. The Maelstrom? You know that thing in the middle of World of Warcraft? The Maelstrom. Thank you. Pirate people. Like we're just a bunch of thugs. Like, what the hell? Limsa Lominsa, the best city in the game. Yeah, they were pirates, you're right. But I mean, to just relegate them to the pirate people, I mean, come on, it's the Maelstrom.
I've forgotten the name of the other two.
I actually don't remember their proper, full names. I remember the Grand Company names, the Immortal Flames, the Order of the Twin Adder, and the Maelstrom. But I don't remember the actual country names.
Whoops. But those are your sort of
Limsa.
countries. Yep. And my past experience had basically been, it was initially quite jarring, some of the quirks of FF14.
Actually,
I got over those.
Actually, it's Lanasha. Yeah, the place where we're at is actually called Lanasha. The city is called Limsa.
The story was slow at the start, but it came together kind of satisfyingly, even though it all did feel a bit more low stakes. But I was...
What Grand Company did you choose, Bellular? Come on.
Kind of... Was it your appetite is whetted? What's the turn of phrase? Whet my appetite?
Yeah.
Is that even a turn of phrase?
Yeah, W-H-E-D, wet.
Yes.
To wet one's appetite is to prepare the appetite.
Cool. Well, yes, the game successfully did that for me. So that's where we leave off. To pick it up then, I've not actually played that much because a bunch of other stuff came up, but what I have played has been important stuff. So I left Gridania on an airship. The character that had sort of, spurred me onto my initial journey kind of was like, all right, you've done well, kid, off you go. So I go to those 2 places on my airship. And there's actually loads of cutscenes and stuff. There's a cutscene where they show some of the characters who kind of look like faction leaders to me. I don't know, maybe they're scions or maybe they're something, but they were important in the sort of final fight before, the moon.
Meep Dragonheart, thank you very much for becoming grossly incandescent. Tip of the hat. Appreciate the support. And Dr. Wise, 1028, thank you very much for becoming grossly incandescent. Tip of the hat. Appreciate the support. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. And the people he's probably talking about Roban and Kani Sena and Admiral Blowfishwind.
Like the moon kind of blew up and the dragon came out of it and it kind of like reset the world or some crazy stuff. When the like evil Garland or whatever they're called Empire was invading or something. But they kind of showed that cinematic, and then I ended up visiting characters from that cinematic. And
this Bugatti ad, I couldn't think of anything less related.
It's the sort of thing where in WoW it would just be like, oh yeah, gotta go here, click on that NPC, click accept quest, click, read the thing, click the dialogue, done, go to the next one, do that, done, go back. And I'd be like, oh my god, these are all just boring, walk here, do that, fetch quests. But what was actually different is that they had established me quite well as a character in that world. And I was... So I felt like, okay, I am this character. I have had these conversations with these people in this world because of how the dialogue in that game is framed as dialogue, not just walls of quest text. So I thought that was like... just got me more, I guess, more immersed with my character. And then it's like, if I'm super immersed with my character, then I don't mind having that more sort of walking and talking and exploring the world, that kind of world-building-ish content. So, yeah, I first went to the pirate city. I talked to the guy there. He then sent me in an airship, or she even sent me in an airship to the Sultanate. And I talked to the big buff dude.
Raban?
Raban.
Them and the FF
the Bull of Valamigo.
Raban's a great character.
Yeah. So, I was doing that, and it was that thing where, like, as I was doing that, I was talking to those characters, and I was, like, learning little bits of history of their peoples and what they had done. And honestly, it came together, and I was like, cool, I'm excited. So they're doing this thing where they're teasing the what are they called? Garland Empire? Garlean. So the Garlean Empire, they use this like Magitech, I think they call it, which does make them kind of look like the big evil empire, which I guess they are. So they've done that thing where those characters, they established them being worried about the Garlean Empire as like a looming threat over the world. And
then they give you a meanwhile cutscene.
I'd learned about that. I'd learned about these characters, seemingly in a context where these are characters I'm going to get to know quite a bit. That my character will actually have a relationship.
You have no idea.
So I felt quite good about all of that.
Just you wait.
And then they sent me back to the pirate city, where I had a quest to basically help them out dealing with a local problem, which involved doing my first dungeon in the game. Mm-hmm. Now, that was all interesting because, number one, the pirate city is fucking hard to navigate initially, but it is cool. And it's really funny because it's not like graphical fidelity-wise, it looks incredible and it has these massive, like, vistas or whatever. I mean, it sort of does, but it still looks a bit jank because it's FF14 and it looks like FF14. But it was like how novel that city was and just how cool its fantasy was and all of that, that I was initially like, oh, wow. It was like, I went to a new level of the city, I turned my camera, and it wasn't like I was sitting there wowed at the visuals, but I was like wowed at the thing I saw in the world. Which I guess is whenever a game has successfully captured your imagination.
That's a fairly big distinction between being wooed by the visuals and wooed by what it is.
Yeah. So then I went from that to doing our first dungeon. And what was funny with the dungeon is it was an early MMO dungeon, so I obviously don't really expect much. And there was basically no mechanics. It was just pull lots of trash fast, kill all of said trash. Now, I did get the feeling that it was a more exploratory and interesting dungeon at its core than what I experienced, because I think by this stage people just like they know the route through that pirate dungeon and you sort of do it and you're done. It had a little bit of a twist, I guess, at the end, sort of narratively, that was kind of neat. So it's that thing where as an actual bit of dungeoning gameplay, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh wow, this was an amazing dungeon, I had so much fun. It was a fine dungeon, but I had quite a lot of fun doing it because I just felt like I was kind of there for the journey because of all those things that I've just said. And then what struck me as being really cool about doing that dungeon is you were able to join me. At the time I was level 19, and this is
see, this is something that World of Warcraft still hasn't gotten right, and they've tried to copy it and they've messed it up. They've messed it up so bad. Their party sync system, whatever it is that they were doing, where you need to have someone who's lower level than you and they invite you and then you join them and then you can temporarily, like, I don't even know if this is even working anymore, but I know there was a patch in retail where they did something trying to copy the party sync and they failed miserably. But this is great Because like for when you get a friend into it and you can just like join them in a dungeon and you're not going to be brutally overpowered and just like one-shotting everything. You know, your friends can actually get in there and deal a little bit of damage and not feel like they're completely useless. That's really cool. And they do that for a lot of things, not just dungeons. They do that for dungeons, for raids, for God knows what else. But basically, they let you experience the content kind of like it was back in the day. So if you go do a low-level dungeon, you know, they strip away your abilities, which in a way, it's frustrating. And in another way, it makes sense. But you play the dungeon as if you were level 19, even though in actuality your class is like level 80 or whatever, which is really cool.
I guess one of the cool things about this game. So I guess my side is I'm a newbie level 18 archer, need to do this dungeon for a quest. That is a part of the main scenario quest, so I have to do it. I guess then you come in, so...
Yeah, so obviously I'm, at the minute, I'm like item level 517, 513?
Damn.
Something like that, where I'm fairly endgame geared on my level 80 bard, done a lot of shit. But I was actually working on this document here for the stream. You were like, oh, you said something with Duty Finder or you're going to Sastasha, and I went, sure, I'll log in. And I logged in on this MacBook, actually. It survived the journey. Decided, I've got a level 50 White Mage, so I'll just swap over to White Mage and queue with you. And there we hopped in. It wasn't even like roulette leveling, because it was the only dungeon you had. So it's the only thing we could queue for. So I went in, healed it. There was another tank, another DPS. I got a level. I got a... Like...
How did the party sync fail? It failed because it doesn't really allow you to experience content properly the same way that something like 14 does. Because like, for instance, the party sync thing doesn't let you like go back and do dead mines as a level 15 or whatever. Unless maybe if someone has like a quest to go to the dead mines. I don't know. I remember reading about it. It's been a while since I've read about that particular stuff, but I remember reading about it and I was like, this implementation is so ridiculous for this thing that they're just basically trying to copy. Look, just copy the thing, okay? It's what you guys do best anyways. It really is. Like Blizzard's usually at their best when they look at something that someone else has done and they're like, we can do that better. And they go in to do it better. Now it's like they're trying to reinvent the wheel or something. It's like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Someone has already done it. Like either do it better or don't do it at all. It's just like the way that they've implemented it, I thought was ridiculous. Really, something I loved in WoW was the fishing, getting achievements, toys, mounts, transmogs, just being able to help the guild with mats. Do you dabble in fishing? I have done research and it looks different, but still good in its own right. I don't do a lot of the crafting things. It's not for me. Because like, whereas in World of Warcraft, the crafting and the professions, they're kind of like a thing you do off to the side. In Final Fantasy XIV, crafting and professions, like they're actual jobs. Like when you're leveling up an armor smith, you're doing something that you would do almost like if you're leveling up a warrior. There's like a quest associated with it. There's beast tribes that are associated with it that require you to do special crafting things. There was the Ishgardian Restoration, which I guess is still going on, which involved pretty much just like crafting stuff and gathering stuff and managing all of that. So they're really in depth. And I've never been too into crafting professions. Like I would just do it off to the side because that's a WoW thing. In this game, it's completely different. Now, I did level up an armor all the way up to 80 because I wanted to do a very specific beast tribe that can only be done using crafters and gatherers. So, yeah, I did do that, but, you know, professions in this game are very different. When it comes to fishing, though, my understanding is that it is significantly better than World of Warcraft because they have ocean fishing, and you can do some really crazy stuff in ocean fishing. Corey, what people tell me, like, you actually go on boats with bunch of other players and you all go out into the middle of the ocean and you start fishing and then they bring you back to town and you can get like rare materials and mounts and minion drops, I think. So yeah, if you really liked fishing in World of Warcraft, you're probably gonna love fishing in Final Fantasy XIV. Raids are hit and miss, Alexander. Even at level 6, you end up skipping a lot of mechanics. Yeah, but here's the thing, Zero Archaic. What if you do it with minimum item level? Because there's an option in the Duty Finder where, like, if you get yourself a proper party, a pre-made party. You can go and you select minimum item level, and that neuters your item level to what it would have been if you were doing the content back then. I know that Scott Zone did a lot of that with Binding Coils of Bahamut, where you ran the entirety of Binding Coils of Bahamut in minimum item level. So, yeah. Rhea finished Stormblood a few days ago, and the main scenario stuff didn't impress me much, but the other endgame content I find to be better than Heavensward. Yeah, like I said, Stormblood is weird. Stormblood is weird. It has highs and lows. It has good points and not so great points. Stormblood was a bit of a mixed bag, but trust me, if you just finish Stormblood, dude, when you get into Shadowbringers, when you get into Shadowbringers, dude, yeah.
15% of a level from XP, you got 2 levels from it, and it was just, I was there to hop into the queue to make the queue quick.
Yeah.
And it's just because I can do it.
Yeah, it was cool how the game like let you help me out, but also you could get those levels for doing that. And I guess it's the sort of thing where, you know, it's cool. Like World of Warcraft has got party sync, and I think you could party sync down to my level, and we could like do a leveling dungeon together.
Yeah.
I think with this and FF, it was just that like, because you have multiple jobs in your character and then your jobs are leveled specifically, it kind of solves so much of the alt friendliness problem, and it just kind of meant that you were like so rapidly able to go and help me out. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool. Like you got some levels out of it as well.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing that I always tell people as well, because you always have people that are concerned about just like blowing through the content. It's like, gotta get the Shadowbringers, gotta get through this Realm Reborn stuff and through this Heavensward stuff, gotta get through it as fast as I possibly can, and boom, get the Shadowbringers. And it's like, you don't have to do that, because veteran players are rewarded for going back. Like they just said here, Matt got like 2 levels on his level 50 character for doing Sastasha. I mean, I don't think he got 2 levels. He probably got like maybe 1. But, you know, whatever. Because they probably queued it for it as leveling roulette. Because when you get to level 16, you can queue for a leveling roulette, and that gives you a pretty chunky bit of EXP, even if you have like a higher level character. So they reward veteran players for doing this older content. So, you know, they always have players going back and doing this stuff so that, you know, the queues are pretty healthy, so long as people are playing at the time. Because, like, it does seem to me that Final Fantasy XIV is a game that is much more played up until like 10 p.m. And then usually after 10 p.m., I feel like the population kind of drops drastically because queues start increasing. At least that's my experience. But, you know, so long as you're playing at a reasonable hour, the queues are usually pretty fine.
So, yeah, it seems like, you know, that's the game's worst dungeon, but it all sort of fit in pretty decently.
It's pretty cool.
No, okay, not the worst dungeon.
It's not the worst dungeon.
Snooze fest.
It is. It's just because it's level 16, so when you're synced down, and someone said, was it like you was a carry? No, it's actually not. It synced my level down to the max level of the dungeon, which is 18.
Yeah.
So you were actually 19 at the time, and it synced you to 18.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was 50. It synced me down to 18, so I only had a couple of abilities, and I was properly, like, appropriately leveled for it. And then I got XP that went towards my overall level as well. So
yeah. So that all just worked. That was fun, and you know, well, now I'm going back to Gridania to continue my questing there. But they've done a pretty decent job, and like in my head, I know there are overarching threats that are kind of interesting. That I'm sort of, I feel like, okay, it's going to be really cool whenever that bit comes in. So yeah, you know, so far I have liked what I've seen of characters. I've liked how they've done world building. It's definitely more of a slow burn, but you know, this is me at the start of A Realm Reborn. It's going to pick up quite a bit in the expansions from what I hear, but already I'm decently in there in A Realm Reborn. It's, you know, it's not painful in the way that I thought it could have been. I was genuine, and maybe it's because my expectations the way they were. I was genuinely expecting a big, horrible slog. But no, so far it's been like all quite good. Quite good, but with this promise of how incredible it very much seems to be once, you know, you get up to the higher, like the expansions and those storylines. But, you know, it's even just like little things, you know, they can do their little cutscenes, you know, the camera can move, show a character talking, and it all just feels more integrated. than that similar stuff does in WoW, you know? So I really think, yeah, I'm having fun so far. I'm in.
Beautiful. I think that's what everyone wanted to hear.
I think it might be what they wanted to hear. Yeah, and you know, it's, yeah, I mean, I'm in. That's what I can say. I'm enjoying the level up process so far. I want to learn more about this world and its peoples. Go to new places, do new things, see what this Guardian Empire is all about. Cool. And it's the sort of thing I've been enjoying, just being there in that world, even in times where it's, I mean, almost especially in times where it's not been combat based. I've actually just enjoyed going about the place, doing things, learning about the world. They've set it all up well, and I feel like I'm quite well integrated with who my character is, because I feel like I'm meeting that world in a similar way to how my character is, I guess. And it feels like a reasonable fantasy universe with its own internally consistent rules and things.
It is.
It feels quite different to how, like, you know, I hit the Shadowlands and I'm like, oh, okay, so here's, you know, the 4 themes of the theme park. All sort of, you know,
so true. So true.
It feels, and I mean, that's a Shadowlands specific criticism. It doesn't really apply to past stuff in WoW.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it's worked on a world building level, I guess. And that's quite big for me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It expands on the rules of the universe as time goes on, but it doesn't break them in any sense. Especially if you're paying attention. I can see a lot of people getting to, like, Shadowbringers and being like, or to a certain part in Heavenward's patch content and going, what in the fuck is going on here? But it's all stuff that's explained to you and stuff that will be explained later. So if there's ever a point where you're going, what's going on? It's like you can have faith that it actually, that will be capitalized on further down the road in some capacity. Which really means you have to have your brain on, remember everything you're told. Or at least have someone who remembers it all, like Matt from our Discord, who, you know, you hit him any question, he's got the answer right away. He's a, don't know what to call him outside of a genius FF hero.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to say there. It is what it is. I'm super happy that that he's enjoying it. That makes me happy. And it looks like he's having a good time. But the thing is, Bellular is someone that enjoys lore. Like, you guys know that they do, you know, he and his team, they do a lot of lore videos for World of Warcraft. So him just like going about doing his business through the world is appealing to him because he actually likes a good story, which is not what I would say of the majority of the World of Warcraft player base.